Good evening, everyone, and welcome Eagles from around the world. My name is Bill Thompson, Executive Director of Alumni Engagement for your university, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, home of the Eagles. I welcome you tonight as we listen to the 6th president of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Dr. Butler, talk about what is happening with the university, all the great things that are going on, and actually one of the more current things, what's happening with the pandemic. But before I do the introduction, I'd like to introduce, actually what I'd like to do is say thank you to all of you who've been able to attend tonight, to the over 3,000 that have registered for the previous events we did this week, because we were not sure what we were going to do during our homecoming week. We normally have October West and Wings Out West in Prescott the first week of October, and then we have our Daytona Beach homecoming the second week of October, where we are today. Normally, Dr. Butler has the opportunity to speak to everyone in Prescott and then speak to everyone in Daytona during his lunch, which would normally be scheduled tomorrow on Saturday. But the plus and one of the benefits of the pandemic and to be able to do a virtual week of programming for all of our Eagles and our students and our parents and our faculty and staff and all of our friends, including the alumni, of course, is the fact that we can bring our worldwide campus and our Singapore campus and our alumni from Brazil into this program. So tonight, you'll learn more about what's happening with the university, all the great things that are going on. And it's a time to be proud. It's time to be proud of our students. It's a time to be proud of the way everybody has handled this, but you're going to hear more from that from Dr. Butler. So at this time, as we look at all of the great things that are happening, I'd like you to learn more from the person who's really helped make it happen, who's been here since March of 2017, Dr. Butler. Your controls, sir.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity also to welcome everyone who's out there. It's a very unusual time, to say the least, but as I tell people, it's always good to update not just the faculty and staff on how we're doing as an institution, but also our alumni, who are very important to us, parents, friends, and so on. Okay, it looks like I did everything right. I want to share with you a little bit about how we're doing as a university. I refer to this as the state of the university. And this is a talk that I give once a year to the Board of Trustees, the faculty and staff on all 3 campuses. This year was a little different, obviously, doing it virtually. And I think it's really important to share it with you as well. I've posted this on the university's website if you want to get in and take a look at a longer version of this. I've kind of give you an abridged one tonight. But if you really are interested, get on the website and you get a chance to take a look at what it says in more detail. Let me start by saying, I've been with Embry-Riddle now for a little over 3 years. I couldn't be happier and I couldn't be prouder of an institution at a time when higher education is being questioned around the country and around the world. It's dealing with COVID, it's dealing with a lot of issues. I asked myself the other day, if I were to build a university from scratch today, what would it look like? And, there's certain elements to it that you'd want to put in place. Number one is you really have to know who you are. If you're starting a university, who are you? What are you really all about? And you really need to have a focus. You really need to know who you are, what you're doing, and be able to communicate to that as well. You need to build it around faculty who are passionate about what that mission is and who have expertise in that mission they bring to them, whether it be from industry, the government, or their higher education experiences that can speak to that particular mission. And you need to have students there who are so passionate about what you're doing that they've probably been dreaming about it from the time they were 10 years old. They're focused, they know what they want to do, and they're passionate about the subjects that you're teaching. And you have to have it connected with the people you serve, the industry that you serve, the government, et cetera. What I just described for you is what I see at Embry-Riddle, and I see it every day. And I got to tell you, we are a very special university. While you may read a lot about what's going on in higher education, Embry-Riddle is really the outlier when it comes to what a university should really be all about. And I'm very proud of that. So my talk is entitled, "The State of the University, Continuing to Excel During Extraordinary Times." I want to share with you just a few things about it. Let me start by giving you a little bit of an update on what happened over the past year. I know a lot of questions had come in from you about how did we manage during the pandemic. I would tell you that Embry-Riddle has managed it quite well, starting back in the spring of 2020. And I refer to this as the continuity of our programs. In other words, can we keep things going that started in January when suddenly just about every university in the country around March had to change what they're doing. They had to pivot. We had incredible response from our faculty to migrate their courses from face-to-face to online at a time when nobody really knew much about what was happening with respect to the pandemic. Our IT people were able to provide the tools and services that you need to be effective in that operation. We have a group called the Emergency Operations Team. They meet on a daily basis, and they really just look at every aspect of what it means to run a university in difficult times. And a lot of people stepped up and shouldered new responsibilities. They took on things that they had never thought they would be doing. To have a soccer coach helping us do wellness checks because we needed extra people. Things like that. The Embry-Riddle family really stepped up. And we were able to finish the spring semester in really great shape, but we're also able to do some things above and beyond just so-called keeping the trains running. In other words, keeping the semester moving along. We actually were able to provide education to 120 high school students in Arizona and Florida who were at home because of their K-12 schools learning remotely. And we provided them with Embry-Riddle College credit. And it was quite a statement to be able to say, in addition to taking care of the campuses and taking care of what we're doing, that people actually stepped up and raised their hand and said, there's a lot of kids at home right now that could use a little extra education, in addition to what they're getting from their K-12 environments. And why don't we offer them some Embry-Riddle courses? And we did. And that's quite a statement, actually. Well, that spring then led into the summer. And I refer to this one as great outcomes. I've given you some numbers here. It's a lot of information, but the key thing here is that we had made a decision back in May to actually start face-to-face classes in June. And I think we're one of the few schools in the entire country that did this. We felt it was a good opportunity on both our residential campuses in Prescott, Arizona and Daytona Beach to try things out and see if they work and fix things along the way, just like we do in everything else we do in life. That photograph on the right is pretty interesting. That is that sort of symbolizes what the campuses, both campuses, look like with respect to, as I said earlier, students who are really part of the institution. In other words, we stepped up and asked our students to wear face masks back as early as April and May, inside and outside, at a time when nobody was thinking that was an important step in all of this. And that photograph is pretty interesting to see them riding their skateboards and wearing their face masks and off to class or whatever they're doing. And that's really important. So during the summer, we had a total of 6,000 contact hours in the classroom. So that's a lot. Gives you a lot of data to work with. We had about 30,000 flight operations contact hours. That would include flight instructions in the airplanes, simulators, or perhaps an instructor meeting with a student in a one-on-one debrief or something like that. 30,000 hours and 20,000 dining transactions. We started tours again back in June. We started having people on campus, and we started testing. And we had about 900 tests over the summer. We did have positive cases, as everybody has been seeing, but we're able to manage it in a way that by the end of the summer, we had no active cases. So in other words, people recovered, returned to what they were doing. That summer really prepared us for where we are right now, which is the fall. And I will just tell you that things are going quite well as an institution. Both of our residential campuses are open. We've got about maybe 2 or 3% of the students decided they wanted to learn entirely online. I think it's about 3% of domestic students, 2% international students, simply because they couldn't get back in the country. But we have thriving campuses right now, doing quite well. Right now we have very few active cases in Daytona. We have 0 in Prescott, 0 at Worldwide. And we're managing it on a day-to-day basis. But again, I would say it's because we have had a lot of really good people stepping up to the plate and helping us. So I want to talk a little bit about sort of 5 areas of importance to the institution. These are the 5 goals of our strategic plan. And you can see they're all focused around the center one, which is student success. We also look at enrollment, global strategy, philanthropy, and research, but student success is really at the center of it. So let me just share a few highlights over the past year in each of these areas. In enrollment management, at about the time the pandemic hit, many schools were seeing huge decreases in enrollment for this fall of 2020. You can see there that we're over 10,000 students between the 2 residential campuses. That would be Daytona and Prescott. You could also see it's been going up pretty significantly over the last several years. I would tell you that the attractiveness of Embry-Riddle is pretty amazing. When you have students touring campuses, when you have them looking at us as an institution that they want to go to, it's still getting amazing interest from students, parents as well. A lot of it is coming from you, the alumni. Word of mouth is so important in our industry, in our area of education. A lot of the people I talk to who come to visit campus learned about us from one of you, someone out there who was an alum who said, hey, this is a place you need to look at. And they sensed what was in that person. They're a very special type of person. And they, of course, pointed them in our direction. So enrollment is going quite well. Our worldwide enrollments, they're part-time adult learners. We deliver about 90,000 courses, registrations a year through worldwide. It continues to be number 1 or number 2 ranked in the whole country with respect to online education, serving about 25 to 30,000 individuals. About half of those are in the military. Very, very successful part of our institution. The pipeline for education doesn't start when they enter Embry-Riddle. In our area and many areas, you really have to reach back and start working with individuals when they're young. And in fact, that's what we're doing here. We're partnering with Women in Aviation International and the Girl Scouts of America. Now, by the way, this photo was taken pre-COVID, as you could imagine, with the lack of social distancing and no face mask. But what I really want you to focus on are the looks on their faces, the smiles that you see there. We're part of this entity. We have an online course that we've developed, a MOOC, a massively open online course, free for anybody to take. In the August session alone, we had close to 5,000 young women signed up for this. And it's kind of an introduction to aviation, introduction to aerospace sort of careers. And it is highly successful. And so again, we partner with organizations to try to keep that pipeline filled for the future. And we know this is a very important part of it, is to get young women interested in our areas of expertise. And we're doing quite well in this. We have to change our recruiting strategies this year, obviously, with the COVID-19 and travel and other things. Just to make it brief, we're coordinating the 3 campuses together. We're trying to be very different in the way we approach things, doing a lot more online, a lot more contact, but we are doing tours. So if you have friends and people you know who are interested in Embry-Riddle, we are still doing campus tours. We see quite a few. A lot of students are choosing just to search for their colleges online this year. And so we're, of course, adapting to that as well. We're also working on this transition from the worldwide campus into Daytona and Prescott in a couple of communities where we understand that going off to one of the residential campuses perhaps isn't their choice for the first year. So we're working on it's called a first-year transition. Under student success, I want to share a few things. Our board of trustees continues to be incredibly supportive of our institution, and I want to thank them for that. I do a lot, but I want to continue to thank them. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the investments made just this year alone. We have a new headquarters building that just finished for the worldwide campus. We've acquired 4 more Diamonds, 4 Cessnas this year, as well as 3 simulators, a new baseball diamond at the Prescott campus. The board continues to assess where our needs are, the highest priorities, making sure that we have great educational facilities, but also the entire campus sort of environment. Both residential campuses as well as worldwide have have seen significant investments over the last 5 to 6 years, probably approaching $500 to $600 million in capital and infrastructure. So if you haven't been to a campus in a while, what you have now is quite a bit different than even, like, say, 10 years ago. Really impressive investments, and all for the right reasons, to provide the educational environment that our students really need. As I said earlier, if I were to build a university today, I'd build it around a focused academic profile. And that's exactly what I mean by this. You pick areas, you pick majors. In our case, aviation, aerospace related majors in these colleges that all have a common synergy around what Embry-Riddle is all about. That's how an institution really shines. Now, in addition to this, these are the sort of the traditional colleges. In the last couple of years, we've also looked at areas that sort of link those together as we talk to people in industry and the government about what are those sort of skill sets, what are those areas of expertise where, if you're a student in engineering or business or sciences, where you, in addition to that degree, what are those threads that link you with others in the industry? And we've identified a few things. Aero cybersecurity is one. In other words, cybersecurity as related to our profession. That touches all of the colleges that you see here. Another one is data science, understanding data and business analytics, understanding numbers and how you use those to do better in your business, to do better in your analysis. Flight research and autonomous systems. This is the core of Embry-Riddle, and we continue to grow and get better and better in that as we move on. And business acumen. I hear this all the time from industry leaders, whether you're an engineering major, a science major, understanding business is so valuable for all of our students that we're pulling this into all of the different majors now as an important part. We tell students day in and day out, these are things that are going to make you really stand out besides that Embry-Riddle degree. Well, we went online in March. We had to switch a lot of services for our students. And I just highlighted a few things here that I think are really relevant. Our folks in student services on the campuses really got together and said, how do you provide services for students? And they put a lot of effort in. We had fitness classes online. We had online career expos and practicing for interviews online. Center for Faith and Spirituality had its weekly sessions online, Bible study and things like that. And so, the ability to deliver the same type of materials, the same type of content to keep our students connected was really important. And we really stepped up, put a lot of effort into this, and it paid off. The other thing that I think I want to share with you that's really important is, even prior to COVID-19, we kept hearing, I've heard this for decades now, how important it is for students to understand what it means to work on a team, but also on a team that's all over the world. In other words, how do you work with people who are in another country? And so last year we started doing some virtual projects. This was before COVID actually, where we had students matched up from different places. We had one project between Daytona, Prescott, and Worldwide that included like 30 students designing a Martian lander type of instrument. And they worked virtually. Now, when COVID-19 hit, it just put a spotlight on why this is all so important to us. So we really got out ahead of this, and it was, I think, very valuable for us to do it. Another one I want to mention quickly is we work very closely with the military. We've had some really great programs in terms of military transition, people leaving the service, moving into the civilian world. One that we just started last year was in aviation maintenance. And that one is what's called a skill bridge program. It's an intensive program. They're still in the military, but they're students for 9 weeks solid, morning till night. And this particular one was done in partnership with Pratt & Whitney and AAR. It obviously has to do with the aviation maintenance and more specifically on the power plant side of things. This program, 100% completion. These individuals were placed in jobs at the time they left the service. 100% of them. And that's the kind of partnership we want to have moving forward, serving military during that transition time. Got some changes in leadership I want to announce. The Daytona Beach campus, we now have a new Dean of Business, and that's Dr. Shannon Gibson. She joined us over the summer, an unusual time for someone to come in as a new dean and get to know your faculty and your students, but she's done a wonderful job. And those of you out there in industry, I highly encourage you to invite her when things clear up to come and visit your companies and get a chance to know some of the alums who are there. She is really doing some great things on a fairly short time now. And then another one is after more than a decade of leading the College of Engineering in Daytona Beach, Dr. Mirmurani is stepping down. We're in the process of doing a search right now for a new Dean of Engineering, and that person should be hired most likely in the early spring. And so we know it's going to be a very attractive position given the reputation of the college and what Dr. Mirmurani has done for it. Last year and the years before, we did a lot to have in-person speaker series. We felt this was very important to bring in experts from industry to speak to the students, to the faculty, and the staff on both residential campuses. Some really great series. Usually about once a month, you bring in a really well-regarded individual, and it really makes for a nice event. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we again had to pivot. So we went from in-person speaker series to what I'm referring to as virtual opportunities. So starting this summer, actually, the 3 colleges of aviation from Daytona, Prescott, and Worldwide got together and established a webinar called Aviation Outlook. And if you haven't seen the announcements, just contact the alumni office. This is free. You just sign up for it and listen to one of the great speakers they have about once a month. We've already had Steve Dixon, the FAA administrator, on. We've had Robert Sumwalt, the NTSB chairman, on there. We've had just earlier this week, we had a panel of women in aviation. So the level of speakers that we have is pretty significant. It's kind of a casual conversation. It's very, very impressive to see this. Under Goal 3, our global strategy, Embry-Riddle is a global institution. It has been effectively since the early days, maybe in the 1930s, 1940s, pre-World War II. But through our worldwide campus, we serve people all over the world, and we have faculty living all over the world. So this is an important part of the institution. This map shows you a little bit about one of the challenges we have right now. We have residential students, in other words, students who attend Daytona or Prescott, from all of these different countries. I've clustered them here so it's not too cluttered, but you'll see the breadth of countries, the number of people from all over the world. And of course, with travel challenges and whatnot, it made it very difficult this year. We encouraged a lot of the international students who were in the US to stay just to make sure that they were here for the coming fall. And then the new students who were trying to enter in the fall of 20, many of them could not enter, but what we've done is we've moved them into the online world. So many of those are taking online courses from us already. They're off and running, and they are anxious to get to the respective campus, whether it be Prescott or Daytona Beach. But we've been able to serve them through our online environment, which I think is really special, something many schools don't have. And I think it's an important statement about Embry-Riddle. I want to talk just about one country in particular, Brazil. There's a little bit of history here that I think some of you probably know when I talk about international things. So we have some really experts in aviation English. So in other words, the international language of aviation and learning it around the globe and making sure that the nuances of it are understood. We signed a really nice contract with the air traffic control group in Brazil. We'll be working with over 1,300 air traffic controllers on aviation English over the next 4 years to bring them up to speed on the English requirements, but also it brings Embry-Riddle once again back into Brazil in a major way. We also have some really nice partnerships with some of the authorities, the organizations in there, the ANAC, for example, Civil Aviation Authority in Brazil. Got a nice program there with sort of an executive master's type program. And then we have a partnership with the Brazilian Airlines, again, working on up and coming individuals that look like they're on their way for leadership positions. We do like an executive program with them as well. We are effectively the most active in Brazil since we were in the 1940s. And for some of you out there, you may know what that is, others may not. But Embry-Riddle went to Brazil in 1943 and had a really nice partnership, some old photos here from that. If you get online, you'll be able to see some of these. But Embry-Riddle instructor teaching some young cadets about aviation, maybe aerodynamics or something. But we have a long history in Brazil. We have a great reputation there. And we're going to only continue that. I brought this one in just as an example. Another one is Singapore. Some of you may know this, but we have another campus in Singapore It's a smaller campus, serves about 600 students, very, very good, very closely connected with the aviation industry in the Pacific Rim. And traditional students, 18 to 23-year-old students. Well, we're also reaching out now in terms of professional ed and development. And so we did a little seminar here on restarting airports. You may have seen in the paper recently the #1 airport in the world year in and year out. The Singapore airport is a ghost town right now. And so how do you restart an airport after COVID-19? And so we've done some programming in these areas as well. Research and innovation is something that is an important part of the institution, and it connects very closely with all the other factors that we talked about, all the other parts of our mission, whether it's education, whether it's outreach, reputation, etc. This slide really summarizes what it's all about at Embry-Riddle, and I share this a lot with people. It's us, it's Embry-Riddle, partnering with industry and partnering with government. This comes in all different flavors, all different forms, but at the end of the day, this is the partnership for success, and we've seen it work for us. What we've seen evolve over the last couple of years are clusters of research. In other words, more than one person working in these areas where we're able to pull together a group of people to have, basically the sum is bigger than the individuals. And so what we end up with here is, if you look at it, air traffic management, basic science, STEM education, autonomous vehicles, and then cybersecurity and in aviation as well. And those are working really well. This is one example of a project that just started in the last year or so, but we've had some really great experts in this area. We've finally pulled them all together, and we've gotten really good success out of this. This is CAR, the Center for Aerospace Resiliency, and it's really all about aviation and aerospace cybersecurity. So all of those channels of communication between the tower, the aircraft, autonomous vehicles, you name it, making sure that that information flow is secure. It's becoming more and more significant with time, and will be into the future. Just like banking, just like retail, the aero aviation cybersecurity world is really significant. And it just doesn't end with aircraft, it's also with spacecraft as well. So we have a really nice group of people working together. We got a partnership with the University of Florida, got a nice grant from the state of Florida, and just in the last week or so, authorization on a pretty significant effort with the FAA as well. So there's a lot of centers of excellence around the country in cybersecurity. There's people working on it all over, but there's really no one focused on aviation and aerospace, and that's us. It makes total sense given our reputation, what we do, and so on. So we've looked at it as saying that it's an area we want to put a stake in the ground and be known as the place in aviation and aerospace cybersecurity. And we're off to a really great start in this area as well. When it comes to research and innovation, we had an outside group do an independent study of us in terms of the economic impact. And you can see this here. When you look at sort of the multiplying effects of what we do in both Arizona as well as in Florida, over $2.3 billion in total economic impact. Significant, the tax dollars that are flowing. And so both in Arizona as well as in Florida, the impact of the institutions is pretty significant, and we're making sure that those in positions of elected offices and that really understand how important the institution is to the respective communities for economic development, and also as we're recruiting individuals to come to work at the institution. We've also gotten into the corporate education world. We continue to grow. You can see a number of different areas here and customers. International as well. We're working on some activity, as I said before, in Brazil. We're also looking at some of the other areas as well. Different areas: cybersecurity, human factors, safety management, unmanned aircraft. The one I circled in the upper left is kind of interesting. This is aviation awareness, and what we did here was we partnered with the business Unison to develop a sequence of sort of short, like 10-minute segments on the basics of aviation. We call it the 4 A's: aircraft, airports, aerospace, and aviation. And the reason we developed this was we talked to different industries, and they said, we hire people from all different backgrounds. Not everybody went to Embry-Riddle. We said, really? They should have, but not everybody went to Embry-Riddle. So you may have an outstanding accountant working in the front office in in a major aerospace company that really doesn't have the sort of the Embry-Riddle upbringing, let's just say. And so having a course that really introduces somebody to the basics of our profession, we feel is very important. Industry feels it as well. So we created these short courses. We've got a couple thousand people taking this now, and we feel it's an important part for industry in terms of professional development of their employees, but also retention, making sure that someone feels comfortable in the environment where they're working. And so this was very successful. We just launched it just in the last couple of months. And lastly, I want to talk about philanthropy and you, the alumni. We had some really nice success over the last couple of years. Boeing has stepped up and provided a significant scholarship program for underrepresented minorities in aviation and aviation maintenance. This is a look at the class that came in this year. Last year's class was about the same size and is doing incredibly well as they move on to year 2. What's really special about this photograph is that if you look at those individuals, let me share with you what happened. So we sent each of the awardees a package, Federal Express package, that had in it a Boeing baseball cap and an Embry-Riddle t-shirt. And we said, what we'd like you to do, oh, by the way, you just won a Boeing scholarship at Embry-Riddle, and we'd like you to take a selfie of yourself and send it to us. I was meeting with some executives a couple of weeks later, and I wanted to show them kind of what it means to have this kind of a program. So what you're seeing here is the looks on the faces of young people probably within an hour of receiving a letter giving them a very substantial scholarship to go to Embry-Riddle. And I got to tell you, the smiles on their faces really say something, and I think it's an important message. We've also had some individuals step up. We had the Butler Trust was very supportive in terms of making a difference when it comes to our facilities, in terms of supporting a wind tunnel. We had an anonymous individual, a company actually, supporting athletics. Sometimes people don't want their names. They prefer just to be anonymous. And this is very important. Athletics does a lot for both campuses, and being able to have someone supported at this level is very significant. And families stepping up and providing scholarships. In this particular case, scholarship for our students in aviation. And again, it provides that support that it's going to take to get somebody through school. I know all of you who are alumni out there, you go through school in a lot of different challenges, passing tests, and a lot of things in your life, and not everybody has the resources that it takes, and that adds additional stress. And so when you have people like this, families that step up and say, hey, I want to make a difference in someone's life, it really does mean a lot. One of our trustees, John Amore, put together a challenge grant. We're putting up a memorial for ROTC members who passed away in the line of duty. And John, a former Army an Army veteran, I should say, challenged a match for people. So in terms of supporting that memorial. So a lot of different ways to help the institution become even better. And lastly, you, the alumni, I found this screenshot kind of fun and interesting. I think there's like 11 different countries represented here in terms of where people are, and just pretty amazing chance to get together, as Bill had said earlier, in these very unusual times. And lastly, this is, we did a little survey, and this is a word cloud. So these are familiar with this. The larger the word means that more of you said this. And so the question, I think, was something like, what activity had a special impact on you while you were a student? And you can kind of see the different things that were answered. Obviously, things like intramurals, ROTC, some of the Greek organizations, Golden Eagle Flight Team. These are things that showed up more than once. And actually, the bigger it is, the more people answered this. This is really interesting to look at because it tells us a little bit about, during your time as a student, what impacted you as a student. And it gives us a chance then to understand the parts of our institution that are very important to students that maybe we don't even think about. Charting a successful year, I just want to close by saying anytime you look to the future, you have to have a vision. And our vision is really just 3 simple statements: to be the unquestioned global leader in aviation and aerospace higher education. I think we are. We just got to continue on that path. To have a reputation for personal attention to student success, and to be the definitive source for innovation and excellence in aerospace education and research. defines our future. This is something that everybody marches to every single day. What I'd like to do now is show you a short video. This is something that we show to prospective students, but also to alums. And let me roll it. It's only about 3 minutes.
Embry-Riddle is the global leader in aerospace and aviation education. Industry knows us as the booster rocket for applied research and entrepreneurship, advancing aviation business and commercial space. As an educator, we deliver a critical talent to the aviation and aerospace industry: engineers, pilots, air traffic controllers, and highly skilled technicians. Our graduates move into fields that define the coming decade: cybersecurity, software development, urban mobility, advanced manufacturing, and data analytics. Our industry partners train and retain talent through our professional education and customized certification programs, offered from more than 130 worldwide locations. As a trusted resource to our 1.5 million veterans, we collaborate with companies such as Microsoft and Northrop Grumman to prepare veterans for rewarding careers in IT, airworthiness engineering, and aviation maintenance. Our unmanned aerial vehicle expertise alone creates economies and efficiencies in agriculture, construction, telecommunications, transportation, and disaster management. At our Micaplex, our resources attract startups and spin-offs. We are there with support for new businesses, with technical tools, business services, and faculty consultants who work directly with policymakers. We also provide a talented pool of engineering interns who will soon be employed by Boeing, Raytheon, SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, and other industry leaders. 97% of our graduates are employed or working on advanced degrees within 1 year of graduation. For us, every space is a makerspace. We move from theory to fact. For most people, the sky is the limit. For those who love aviation, the sky is home.
I want to thank you all. This is a chance just to say that the reason I enjoy being here so much is because of you and what all of you have done to elevate the reputation of this institution as alumni. So thank you, and thank you for getting on. And I'm going to turn it back now to Bill Thompson. Bill?
Dr. Butler, thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. And as everybody can tell, just actually last Sunday night, we had Major Brewer on, Thunderbird number 3. It's called Thorny, Embry-Riddle alumnus, about to be a double alumnus. And one of the things he said at the end of his presentation was, to the students out there, you're the future. What you are going to do, we can't even imagine. And we heard similar words in the past, but we can't even imagine. And one of the things that I see when we look at this as an Embry-Riddle employee for 26 years, thank you for your strategic direction, for the initiatives you're laying out, for seeing the vision that our students can move towards, because we can't envision all the careers that they're going to be fulfilling in the next 20 years. Who could have imagined where we were today? So thank you so much for helping lead the institution. We have a few things still going on over the next few days. And just so everybody knows, if you have any questions, you can email them to me directly, william.thompson@erau.edu, and we can assess those and move those forward as necessary, as needed. But what you're going to find is we have so many other events and opportunities to connect. Our virtual e-gatherings, we still have more scheduled in the future. And you have the opportunity right now to make sure your information is updated, make sure that we can connect with you, make sure we know what city, town, state you live in, where you work, so that when we come close to your town or we're having an event, we can connect. It's about being forever an Eagle. We have only a few more events left. This is our virtual homecoming week. It's very historic. So tomorrow, if you have time, and Dr. Butler, I know you and Dr. Audrey Butler have participated many times in the past, as we have the Ashley Gwendin True to Blue 5K. It's in honor of alumnus who served in our country and was a first responder officer who unfortunately passed away on her first day on the job, her first shift. And this is a It's a run in her honor and scholarship to help students in the Homeland Security program. So that is virtual, or there still are slots available at, I believe, 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe 8:30 if you live in the local community. In addition, tomorrow we have a very special event. It's our virtual aerial display and fly-in. We couldn't do it live, as you know, because of the COVID-19. But tomorrow we have Patty Wagstaff, Melissa Burns, Matt Chapman, and a whole presentation set up for you to have a really nice afternoon. It starts at noon. If you haven't registered or if you know a friend, please make sure you log on. Don't forget, if you want to take advantage of the bookstore who helped sponsor this event with Follett, whether it's Worldwide, Daytona, or Prescott, 25% off, which is unheard of, but you only have until noon tonight, till midnight tonight. So fall 2020 is the code that you need to put in. But most importantly, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Dr. Butler, thank you so much for your direction, for your leadership, and for being part of this virtual homecoming. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Forever an Eagle.